And hello everyone, welcome to my Condottieri contest. That's just a fancy name for a broadsword only tournament. Our turnout wasn't the greatest today, so I decided to go with a quick round robin. That still means we'll get plenty of action out of this tournament. And we'll get 8 into the tournament, I think, as you know how I like to run things, maximum fun. We just run through this tournament as quickly as we can, get all the fights in, I believe Apostle is going to be away for a while, so we will not start with Apostle. We'll actually start with Info and Jihadi, and then we'll go from there. And again, very important to keep in mind that points is actually what decides the victor. It's not so much victories. Obviously, if you win everything, that's great, but you can also lose a bunch of fights. But if you score a bunch of points, you can still get the victory. How come no one is at Discord if there's a tourney? Oh, you mean in the voice chat? I'll get in there in a moment. I was just playing the little intro songs and stuff, so I didn't think people wanted to hear double that. So yeah, I'll join that. Don't worry about that. And for those who are unaware, that's just so that people can listen to me while they're doing their matches instead of sort of playing the stream in the background, because that can take up some extra bandwidth and be a little bit detrimental to your experience, especially if your internet can't really handle that type of thing. We'll boot up the game and I'll switch the names and we'll get started. Oh, you mean like there wasn't as much sparring today? I think a lot of us were playing chess actually. So, yeah, we did like a sort of impromptu chess tournament. I managed to win. It was just between 4 people. It wasn't big or anything, but it was fun. Okay. So info on the left, Jihadi on the right. Once we get into this, it'll go really quick. 1 round, guys, 7 flags. And score as many points as you can. Obviously, if you win everything, you win. But realistically speaking, you can still do very, very well if you score those points. And again, broadsword only, so for those who are maybe they have questions about that, that means you can only play calc. It is true that we have Connor here who has the shield and the broadsword. But for our purposes, we'll consider him a shield character and not a broadsword character. But hopefully when the helmet guy comes out, he'll play like a broadsword. I suspect he will. So even though it's a side sword, technically, if you want to be extremely pedantic, I think it's fine to call it a broadsword. It's certainly broader than a rapier, so. So, Info and Julian, probably very unfamiliar with calc, and this is something we're going to see throughout this tournament, is that it looks like we might have some lag, but something we'll see is many of these players are very unfamiliar with broadsword, so they won't be playing at their best necessarily. But that is part of the fun. We'll see some people trying to adapt. Info's good to go, it looks like, so it might be on Julian's end. The stream's looking good. Okay, let's see what's up with Julian. Good sportsmanship by Info. Jihadi joined. Why did Jihadi join? Interesting. Okay. Thanks, Jihadi. Thank you for mentioning that. I had no idea Jihadi was, Oh, did I at you? Okay, that's my bad then. You're not playing right now. Wait, you are playing. I think I typed it in wrong. No, you're good to go. You're good. Let me change that name. That's totally my bad. No, you're good. Yeah, you did nothing wrong. Hopefully you didn't leave. You did leave. Just join back and then take the right side. Okay. I think what happened there is I thought Julian was playing earlier because it was in order, right? So I think I got confused because of that. Alright, yeah, we skipped the fight. Alright, glad we resolved that. Let's continue then. Yeah. And even if I made a mistake like that, I mean, everybody's gonna fight everybody by the nature of it being a round robin, so it wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, even if we did get the order wrong. In info with the first flag, they're going a bit back and forth, trying to get a feel for Calc. Calc's a very complex character to play because as you move diagonally, he automatically switches feet, and his moveset changes depending on the foot that's forward, as does his ability to guard. And that's based on the German Meyer system. There's a bit of that passing footwork, but he also has that linear movement as well. It's kind of a hybrid. So you can see they're trying, I think a big part of the challenge here is making sure you don't switch legs by mistake, which can easily happen, especially if you start dashing or moving diagonally, which people often do. It's rare that people move in a straight line. But Jihadi managed to secure a flag of his own. These matches have the potential to be very tactical because of the nature of Calc. A bit slower than many of the sabers that Jihadi might be used to. So they're kind of feeling each other out, not trying to overextend. You also don't want to expend too much stamina. Calc's a bit of an old man, so it's very, very easy to get tired if you throw too many attacks. Plus, he's got a big, heavy sword, so... In fact, I think that particular example, if I recall, is as heavy as a two-handed longsword. And yeah, some of these broadswords can get pretty heavy. Not as heavy as a great sword, but as heavy as some two-handed swords. All the same. And to be fair, though, broadswords are balanced such that a lot of the weight is towards the hand, so that does help. But it is still a lot of steel to be moving around for an extended period of time. Okay, good thrust there from Jihadi. Again, feeling each other out. You really, like a lot of people when they're playing a character they're not used to, which both of these players are, I would say, is you try not to overextend too much. You're just throwing feel-out attacks and quick attacks. You're not trying to expose yourself too much. Because especially somebody who's very familiar with the character can really start picking you apart if you just throw these big attacks that are very telegraphed and whatnot. So that's why they're going for these quick thrusts, these quick snappy cuts, and not trying to do anything crazy beyond that. Good hits by Info, and there we're seeing the stamina. Jihadi is very low in stamina, but Info doesn't capitalize. And to be fair, Calc actually has some pretty quick stabs, so if you're not careful and a Calc were to recover from that stamina loss, you could find that you're being stabbed in the face out of nowhere. He's got a very good retreat stab that comes very quickly and is difficult to react to. Good thrust attempt, blade beat attempt there by Jihadi, but he gets killed there. He's throwing a massive cut that was very telegraphed. Info staying calm. Info is a rapierist. She doesn't actually like using cut-centric characters the way Jihadi does, but she is used to thrusting. She's used to playing in a very patient way, I suppose, the way you should with Calc. The main difference here is just that Calc has a lot more cuts in his moveset than she might be used to. And again, the footwork is quite different. So you could say Info has a bit of an edge in that respect, but Jihadi's also more used to cutting, so that's an advantage in some ways for him as well. And Jihadi said he did practice, so he's not a complete greenhorn when it comes to calc, but I bet you today is the only day he's seriously practiced with the character. And their Info taking the handoff, probably taking advantage of the fact that Jihadi was in long guard. A very tactical fight, this one. It's not as quick as some high-level saber matches can be, or even longsword matches, but interesting in its own right. Nice incortada from Jihadi. Big cuts there, they clash, and that stab is deflected nicely by Info, and in the same motion, Jihadi is struck. Info looking to finish this up here. Remember, it is only one round that you have per fight, but you do get to fight everybody, so regardless of outcome, you get lots of opportunities to fight with Calc. But Info takes it 7-4. Good effort by Jihadi, but Info seemed that little bit more composed. And was doing a good job of sniping that hand. Okay. Now I'll be fighting Landsknecht. So that's pretty exciting. And he's joining. I'll just switch the names and we'll get straight into the fight. You will take the left side, Landsknecht, and I'll take the right. I apologize if I misspell your name in advance. I've probably done that before. Landsknecht named after a special type of German mercenary from this time period, especially the 16th century, but they were still around in the 17th century. I think you need keyboard, so I'll give you that as well. It's my bad. There you go. You can take the left now anytime. And of course, we both go straight for Calc, as that's the only pick that is allowed for this tournament. For those who aren't aware, most tournaments we just play with all weapons, but this is a special broadsword only tournament. Anyway, good luck. I'll probably be pretty quiet for this one. I like to focus. GG, I'm glad I called you out on that when I did. Landsknecht should be pretty happy with that performance, though. That is 5 points for him. So he got a good amount of points for someone who's not super familiar with the weapon. I'm not familiar with it either. To be honest, but I have dabbled here and there. I have tried to main him before, definitely played him in some spars and some tournaments, but he's just not quite my character. But very stylish to watch if you get it right with him. And Landsknecht, you're actually fighting again. I don't know if you left. No, you're still here. Beautiful. Yeah, so this is what I call kind of running the gauntlet. So in the challenge, sometimes it makes you... Don't know why there's 2 Landsknechts here, but I'll let him back in this way. Weird visual bug there. But anyway, for those who are unaware, the challenge often has it where in these round robins, especially when we have an odd number of participants, that's 7, where essentially you have to run the gauntlet and play twice. Once in the last bit of the round and once in the first round. First fight of the second round. And often that means switching sides, but it is a bit randomized. So Jihadi will take the left side this time, and Landsknecht will take the right. And Landsknecht, who should have keyboard again. Oh. Can't seem to enter the game. I know it shows up on my screen. That's just because I have the window. There we go. Okay, Jihadi left, Landsknecht on the right. And again, broadsword only, of course. And I have it to where the game window is in front of all other Windows guys, so we're all human, we can make mistakes. So if you see something strange on challenge, just like usual, you can yell at me, and we'll sort that out if a score is entered incorrectly or something like that. This is just a smoother way of doing it. That's a double. So Landsknecht hoping to bounce back a little bit after his loss, but he did very well against me earlier, so I think what he wants to do is he wants to make this fight as dirty as possible so that conventional calc play doesn't work. And that's kind of what he was doing against me, and it was working some of the time. I would try to go for a clean stab, but he would just say, fuck it, and move in, and go with a push, and then stab my face, you know, these sorts of things. And Landsknecht is a Tarnowski player, actually. He prefers to play the Dusak, a short saber messer-like weapon that really likes cutting, so Tarnowski really likes mixing it up, switching tempos and these sorts of things. So I think making it messy is definitely Landsknecht's plan here. Jihadi trying to play a more conventional calc. And it's interesting because we were actually discussing this briefly, but believe it or not, Calc and Tarnowski both use the same fencing system. And it's Meyer's fencing system. Obviously, Tarnowski uses the Dusak, and Calc using the broadsword or straight sword. So the weapons are different, and some of the techniques are different as a result. But it's still the same philosophy as far as approaching the fight, the way you switch legs, and all these sorts of things. So the style might look different on the surface, but that's mostly to do with the weapon. The way they approach the fight still has a lot of similarities, but they still have their own uniqueness as far as the characters themselves and their personalities too. Just like any other martial art. There's the way the art is used, and then there's sort of the way an individual might use it. And those are two different things. Just like how there's people who do Fiore, and Fiore is more about counter-attacking, so you do double tempo actions, you parry, and then you attack. But some Fiore practitioners are more aggressive, and are more willing to mix it up, or to even do single tempo actions, despite the fact that their system discourages that a little bit. Jihadi needing to watch that stamina, but he is doing very well so far. He's well aware of the issue of stamina, and good job backing away from that push. Landsknecht was making very good use of that earlier, but Jihadi seems to read it better than even I was reading it last game. He's doing much better with that than I was. He's a newer member of the community, so is Landsknecht, but I'd say the fact that he's reading his opponent so well is very commendable for someone not using a character he's used to. And we haven't gotten a chance to see Oak in action yet. Oak is the favorite of this tournament, I would say, because he does... I mean, he mains Laszlo right now, but his secondary main is definitely Calc. And he plays a Calc that is just as formidable as Laszlo, who is a Saber character. So... yeah, Oak definitely somebody to watch out for here. Nice horizontal cuts there from Jihadi. I think he's aiming for the head there. Then goes low with the thrust. He's definitely trying to keep his distance, use the reach that that weapon grants him. Which is a very good way to use Calc, especially if somebody has a shorter weapon. Yeah, very tactical. Neither of these fighters want to give away a flag that they don't need to. So that's giving the other person a point towards winning this whole thing. Speaking of, Landsknecht with a nice point there. Stab to the face after a push. There's a cut to the head, and it looks like we're seeing a little bit of a comeback from Landsknecht. Nice upcut from Landsknecht. And Landsknecht looking to win this match, actually. It was looking a little difficult for him at first, but he's making a really good comeback, calling out Jihadi's mistakes. Now Jihadi's throwing some preemptive attacks out of range, out of measure. That push does not land, but the follow-up does, which is very good for not Jihadi, for Landsknecht. Because that means it's a double, and he's not, and he maintains that lead. But it doesn't get him closer to winning than he was before, so fighters are reset. Thanks to that double hit, there's a good stab, and another stab from Landsknecht. And he takes it 7-5. For Landsknecht. Sort of a reverse of the score that he got previously. Now we've got Oak against Info. And that's a fight I'm really excited to see because Oak plays a pretty damn good Kalkstein. And Info seemed really composed earlier too. So I think Info, especially using her favored rapier tactics, could pose a challenge for Oak despite the fact that on paper Oak has the advantage. Oak definitely really badly wants this title. Alright. And as for the sides, Oak will be on the left. And Info will be on the right. And stay in here, Oak. You'll be fighting Landsknecht right after this. And then Jihadi will fight me. We're doing a lot of repeats now, especially because unfortunately Apostle could not join us right away on time. And Pekola had to forfeit. So we're skipping his fights completely too and just completely negating any sort of score that might come from those, just for fairness, so that people don't get free points. Nice snap cut from Oak. Oak is definitely going to show us more of Calc's moveset, I think, and especially the meta moves. He knows those very well with Calc. But Info doing well so far as well, making it 1-1. Good stab to the hand. And because we're skipping so many fights, I'm not going to pay too much attention to what the standings look like, because it's going to be skewed by the fact that people have not all done the same number of fights. We're just going to wait till the end to examine what they look like. Yeah, and I don't want to waste too much time with that either. Just want to get through this tourney as quickly as we can, so that we spend as much time fighting as possible. And it's a good stab from Info. Not a favorite format, this specific weapon. A lot of people prefer Saber and Longsword. There's definitely some Calc lovers out there, but I would say those are the favored weapons in this community. Which is totally understandable. Those are the most popular weapons in real life, too. In HEMA. Nice clash of swords there, but Oak slips a thrust in when Info probably wasn't expecting it. And that lands him another point. And again, that's the advantage that Oak has here. He knows how to combo with Calc. He knows about all of the various combos, like the cuts and the thrusts, and the thrusts and the cuts. So those mix-ups can really throw somebody off who's not used to the character. And so far, Oak is looking at a very convincing win, if this keeps up. Nice preemptive attacks, trying to tag Info if she overextends too much. She's trying not to do that. But there, the point was completely offline, so Oak saw the opportunity and went for a stab. And again, Info just going with a very wide cut, and Oak does what he does best and just punishes that mistake without mercy. Okay, Landsknecht, you're up next against Oak. Hopefully Oak stays here. Okay, Apostle is back, ready to join now. That's awesome. I'm glad he was able to join us pretty quickly. So, if you're not opposed to this, Oak, what I think we'll do, this actually works out very well, is we'll have you fight Apostle after this. Unless there's any strong objections from you, but I suspect there won't be, because Oak's always down for a fight. I normally wouldn't make somebody fight this many times in a row, but that's just what happens sometimes. And it's funny because Oak is here. Usually we do that to people who are late just because we have to do their fights. But in this case, Oak's actually the one who has to do a bunch of fights. Just because of how it worked out. and because we managed to get pretty much everybody here early on. Okay, Lanch Connect on the left. I think I still need to give you keyboard. Alright, go ahead. And then Oak will take the right side. Beautiful. So far, very limited technical problems. The only problem we had was just literally human error on my part, so... But we resolved that pretty quickly, so things are going very smoothly. Okay. Oak looking for a really decisive victory too, I'm sure, because that allows him to essentially knock Lanch Connect out of any possibility of overcoming him, hopefully. That's obviously the end goal, but we'll see if Lanch Connect can score some more good points, or if Oak will absolutely dominate this fight. Lanch Connect was a little concerned about that, because Oak pretty much mains Calc alongside Laszlo. But Lanch Connect, I have to say, is doing very well so far. A bit on the defensive because Oak is probably more confident with the character. But there's actually a lot of pressure on Oak's shoulders here to actually do really well. Because if Lanch Connect were to win this, it would be quite an upset. So in some ways, maining the character is a little bit of a disadvantage if you struggle with that type of pressure. But so far, Oak is just thriving under pressure. He's not having any major problems. Lanch Connect is trying to reply with some attacks of his own, but I would say Oak is the one controlling the fight right now. Lanch Connect is playing a very reactive, shall we say, game. Although he tried to go for a nice push there, he was too far. Nice trade of thrust there, nobody's hit. Good parry from Lanch Connect. But again, he's spending a lot of time on the defensive, trying to catch Oak making a mistake, but Oak is just, for the most part, not making them. And when he does, he positions himself such that the blows coming in from Lanch Connect are not killing blows. That was a nice snap cut from Lanch Connect, though. Beautifully executed. Good snap cut from Oak, one of the bread and butter moves of Calc, and Lanch Connect is tired, but Oak is extremely patient, and that's good from him. We've seen a lot of times where even the best of the best players mess these up and get hit by those tired swings, which look really easy to block, but the problem is players see that the person's tired, and they go straight for the attack without thinking. Which I would say 8 times out of 10 works perfectly fine, so it's understandable, but that's where sometimes a player who spaces that tired swing out well can still surprise you. Nice clashes of swords here, but again, Lanch Connect very much on the defensive, and that's not where he wants to be. That's not his style, usually when he's playing this game. And it gives initiative to Oak, who knows how to mix up better, he knows the moveset better. And he's extremely good at distance management, so you make the slightest mistake and he'll punish you instantly. And there he almost did just that with that thrust. Lanch Connect again on the back foot, and that allows Oak to go straight for the stab. If Oak wins right here, right now, that'd be another excellent victory added to his belt. And Lanch Connect will have scored very few points, which is not what he wants. So if I'm Lanch Connect here, I'm at least looking to score some points. If you can score as many points as you can, that is still a good performance. He's been scoring like 5 points in his fights. So scoring another 5 here actually would not be too bad. You don't want to lose by so much if you're in Lanch Connect position. So maybe that'll ignite a fire in him to fight more precisely, to fight with more vigor. Some people being down on flags, this actually has that effect where you fight better knowing that this is your last shot. Like if you fail this, you're gonna lose. And it can lead to comebacks, especially if the other guy's getting careless. I don't think Oak's so much getting careless though, as Lanch Connect is fighting more tight. And Oak definitely does not want to give another flag away if he can help it. Oak dashes in but gets pushed. Lanchknecht's pretty good at that sort of gameplay. And there it is. Oak with a beautiful parry from long guard into a sidestep cut. Lanchknecht managing to score some points back, but not very many. Oak with a more convincing victory. Okay, and like I said, Oak, do not go away. You'll be fighting one more time against Apostle. Jihadi's been observing Oak really closely, trying to look for some good strategies, which is pretty smart. Apostle on the left, Oak on the right. Beautiful Apostles here, and we can get started right away. Not a lot of people voted to do a tournament right after this one. I was thinking of doing a similar thing to what we did last time, and doing another weapon-only tournament of some type. Apostle on the left, Oak on the right. There you go. Oh, not Isabella. Let's go back. I think that was a misclick, because it highlights Isabella right away. And Apostle doesn't play Isabella normally. Okay, Apostle again on the left. Oak on the right. Okay, maybe we just need to back out. But anywho, not a lot of people voted for another tournament, and I think that's just because people were busy. But I was thinking of doing something similar to yesterday, where we do a second weapon-only tournament based on what people vote. The two choices would have been Rapier or Sword and Shield. But we'll do that next week, I think. One of those tournaments. Probably the Rapier one. But we'll see. I might do a poll after this tournament regardless, just to see what people want. And then we'll go from there. Apostle gets his first flag here, which is very good for him against somebody as good as Oak that might give him some confidence. Again, with a weapon he's not very familiar with. I think Oak is the only true calc main here. Pekala would have been too. He would have also been a main, but he hasn't been able to... He wasn't able to show up because of work, so... Oak is going to have to prove to us that he's the best calc here, which I think he no doubt is. But he definitely will have to run the gauntlet. Good stab to the arm by Oak. 2-2. Apostle with a respectable performance so far. Victory here would be pretty huge for him. Same with Oak though. If Oak gets a... Even if it's not a convincing victory, even if he gets a victory, he's had two very convincing victories against some of the other competitors, so that puts him in a really nice spot, where he's essentially knocked two people down a peg, so to speak, as far as points. But obviously, the more you win by, more flags you win by, the better, as far as the placement goes. That's a double. But you don't have to be super stressed out about that, honestly, because again, if you were to just win every fight, even if it was fight one, you're guaranteed to win if you have the most points. But it also is good to have those wide margins, because if you do have a bad performance, it allows you to kind of eat that loss a little bit, because you're ahead by some of the competitors by such a margin. So it's always advantageous to just dominate your opponent if you can afford to do so. Good retreat thrust there by Oak. And again, it's those mix-ups. Apostle was not ready for that retreat stab that came down the pipe. Big cut there, but is punished immediately by Oak's stab. And Oak looking to win this, possibly 7-2, which would be huge. And there it is, 7-2 for Oak. GG. Alright, Oak, you don't have to stick around anymore. Although you will be fighting right after this one, believe it or not, because of how it turned out. But for now, I'm going to be fighting Jihadi. It'll be my turn to run the gauntlet. And believe it or not, that takes us into round 4. And if you consider the fact that Pekola is absent, the end is definitely in sight here. Well, we still got quite a few fights to go, but it'll go by really quickly. Which is probably best for a Thursday. I think Friday is a day when most people are active, as well as when, the weekend. And which, speaking of, Venator is hosting a tournament, so if you guys are interested, feel free to tune into that one on Friday. I'll be casting over there with Venator, so it'll be pretty exciting. Plebeian says, damn, looks like I could have made the tourney before work after all. Yeah, it's hard to judge though, right? Yeah, a lot of my events, especially these round robins, go by so quickly, despite the volume of fights, so it can be tough to plan around that, especially if there are technical issues. But yeah, the name of my game with these round robins is fun and speed, so we get as many fights in as we can at a reasonable pace so everybody's able to fight. For much more of the time than wait. Anyway, I'll try and focus here. I shouldn't be talking so much while I'm trying to focus. Good game, Jihadi. There were some nice exchanges there, actually. Reminded me a lot of a saber fight. 7-4 for me. And now Oak is up, actually, believe it or not, because Pekola has forfeited. So we're running through this pretty quickly. And Oak, you'll take the left side. And I'll take the right side. I think this is a very important fight for the tournament, because if I can take Oak out, that'll be my best shot of winning. I think equally for Oak, he needs to make sure he wins this one. If he wants to win as well, because I've been winning all my fights, so I'm sort of the competition that he needs to deal with. And I better take him really seriously, because I'm fighting somebody who actually mains this character. So I have to use my knowledge of the game the best I can. Hello, Vibing with Victor. Glad to see you here. I won't be talking a lot because I'm kind of in the middle of my fight, but once I'm done, I'll be a lot more talkative. Phew, that was a good fight, Oak. Very tactical. Had to be completely focused the whole time. Big victory for me because Oak is the one who actually mains this character. So, but Oak got 5 points. That's still very, very good for him because the victory condition for this is points. So, any point scored is good. Anyway, welcome, Vibing with Victor. Glad to see you here. For those who are unaware, he streams Kingdom Come Deliverance, and he's a small streamer, but really great guy. And I saw some of his other videos too, like the videos that he did with Boomer, who's another Kingdom Come Deliverance small YouTuber. So go check him out if you're interested. Really cool guy. Okay, now we're doing Apostle versus Info. Of course, Victor, you'll remember I was talking a little bit about Hellish Quart. So it's a realistic sword fighting game that takes place in 17th century Poland. And you got all sorts of weapons in this game, from axes to broadsword, sword and shield, saber especially. Lots of saber in this game, given the location. And a bit of longsword as well. So, pretty neat game. There's no proper online for this game yet because of technological limitations. But we play this through Parsec. So, you don't actually even need the game to play with us. You just need somebody who owns the game to stream it for you, just like Steam Remote. So if you ever want to come over and give the game a try before you buy it, feel free to do so. Yeah, I'd love to, Victor. It sounds good. I'll hit you up. Okay, Apostle with the first stab there into Info. Nice punch there from Info, but isn't quite able to follow it up. A nice stab. So Victor's new to this game, so Calc is using a weapon called the Schiavona, and this tournament is broadsword only, so they're only using this particular character, this particular weapon. Cut and thrust weapon, pretty heavy. It's kind of funny because he's an older gentleman. I don't think he's quite as old as Boomer, but he might be getting there. But that does mean he sometimes struggles with stamina a little bit. But he does have reach, and he does have a good variety of attacks. He's also pretty stylish if you play him properly, so pretty neat character. We usually do mixed weapons tournaments, but this is a special event for the Condottieri title. That's an Italian mercenary. We have these special titles for the individual weapons. Because many players like to specialize in a character or specialize in a certain weapon. So it's a good way to display your skill. But the majority of the events we do are mixed characters and mixed weapons, so people just use whatever they want. Thrust attempt. There's another stab from Info. Info is a rapierist, so that's actually not surprising that she's going for a lot of stabs. That is kind of the cool thing about Calc, is you can use him like a saber, or you can use him like a rapier, because he's able to stab and cut pretty much equally well. The best Calc players probably use a good mix of both, though. I gotta say, despite the fact that most people here, me included, are in very unfamiliar territory, we're collectively doing pretty well because we've played the game for so long. Even the newer members here have been with us for quite a bit by now, so they understand the game. And it's leading to some really nice tactical fights. Yeah, for sure. And we do weekly tournaments as well. I'll link Venator's channel under this stream once we're done. I'll be commentating over there tomorrow at 11 a.m. I believe, Mountain Time. So if you want to check that out tomorrow, highly recommend his channel as well. There'll be a big mixed weapon tournament over there, so if you want to see more of what this game has to offer beyond the single weapon, that'll be a good place to look. If you just look up Venator Hellish Quart, you'll find him. Just type that in the chat as well. Go search that up, you'll definitely find him. Alright, an Apostle behind in flags, but he's actually turning up the heat with that aggression and starting to make a comeback. Cool, wanted to check it out. Awesome. A little snap cut there from Info. Info doesn't want to give away any more flags if possible. Losing is still possible. Dash and cut there from Apostle, and now it's anybody's game. And that's the beauty of this game, is that every strike that lands matters. You can die in one blow, potentially, if you're making mistakes. And so these comebacks can get really intense. Assuming you play perfectly, there's really never a point where you've completely lost. If you play really precisely, a comeback's always possible. By the same token, though, because you can die in one hit, and if you are down a lot of flags, it can also be over very quickly for you. So, bit of a catch-22 if this game leads to really intense moments like that. Oh, that was a good stab attempt from Info, very close to landing. But there's a stab, I think right through the throat. And Info takes it 7-6. Okay, now we've got Apostle against Landsknecht, actually. So it is Apostle's turn to do multiple fights, just because we have an odd number of participants. Okay, Landsknecht's here, and Apostle is here. Beautiful. Landsknecht will take the left side this time. Apostle will take the right. And we're actually getting reasonably close to the end of the tournament. We're running through this pretty quickly. Calc seems fun once I know what I'm doing even a little. Yeah, for sure. He's very stylish if you get his moves right and you know how to use them. But he's an old man. He's using a heavy sword. You definitely have to use him properly. And if you don't, you can definitely run into some trouble very quickly. A lot to think about when you're using Calc as well, because he's got such a variety of attacks. Landsknecht with a point. That's a good hit for Apostle. And again, a lot of these people not super familiar with Calc. They're sort of playing him either for the first time or the first time in a while for a lot of these players. So they're really having to navigate a character that probably plays very differently from the character they're used to. That's a nice cut in the thrust. That's something that Calc does very well. Just slipping a thrust in there when you don't expect it, even after a big cut. And there's a stab right through the noggin from Landsknecht. And that's something that Landsknecht's been doing a good job of this tournament, is just charging in, making the fight messy. And I think Apostle just went for the wrong follow-up there. You typically want to go for the stab if you can after the push, because that goes right to the head. That slash that he did, the X slash, that typically does not reach out very far. And it's a very wide motion, which leaves him exposed if you miss it. With that being said, good snap cut from Apostle. There's a collision of stabs, and I think Apostle is going for a grab there. There are grab executions in this game too. They're a bit difficult to pull off, but if your opponent overextends, sometimes you can go for a grab. And if your opponent doesn't back away in time, your head can be cut off, or there can be other cool executions like that. There's a stab through the throat, though, by Apostle. Those stabs sometimes coming out of nowhere. Big cut, another big cut there from Landsknecht. Out of measure of those cuts, and that's where Calc can lose a lot of stamina, and I think that left him open there. When you see that blue flashing on either side of the screen, that means the character is getting a bit low in stamina, which can lower your guard, sometimes lower your damage too, and it generally puts you in a worse position than your opponent. And with Calc, that stamina can run out pretty quickly, because as we were discussing, he's an old man, especially for his time. Nice retreat thrust there from Apostle. And it's kind of funny, because he uses a heavy sword too, as well as being an older gentleman, but in his younger days, I'm sure he was a lot more athletic. That's probably why he's got a sword like that. We know from his story that he was doing a lot of adventuring in his youth, so he must have been pretty active. And nice from Landsknecht. Landsknecht might win this one. Idiot says hi. Hey, Idiot Boomer. So that's the other Kingdom Come Deliverance streamer that I was referring to. He does some long-form YouTube content as well. Go check him out. Look up Idiot Boomer Waste Your Time, another friend of the channel. And if you like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you'll absolutely love his content. And that's a good question. I'm not sure why your messages... It was something about top messages. I'll try and see if I can change that. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. He's on his his wife's account, I think. Anyway, what was the score? I was looking away for just a moment. 7-5, it looks like, for Landsknecht. Nicely done. Yeah, I'll head to the stream and see if I can look at those messages you were sending. We've run for this tournament pretty quickly, so it's not a big deal. You'll be a bit... Yeah, okay. I see your messages now. Looks like fun, variables... More variables than simply sword position and movement. Yeah, there are some variables there. Relatively new game. It's still early access. It's been early access since 2021. But yeah, updates are coming in at a steady pace. So it still gets updates. It gets new characters and all this sort of thing. Hopefully it'll be done pretty soon though, but we'll see. It's a pretty much a one-man team. That's why the pace of development is a little bit slow. But considering that, I'd say the updates are coming out at a pretty steady pace, so that's good. Alright, Jihadi against Oak now. Was just taking a second to answer Boomer's questions there. Never challenge an old man in a young man's profession. Yeah, Calc definitely has the experience. There's no question. Alright, so I was able to set the chat to live messages on my monitor here. So I'll be able to check and look at your messages here and there. I'll have to figure something out on my phone later. Okay, Oak is here. I think Jihadi tried joining. There we go. Anyway, I can see your messages now if I just check here and there. Jihadi on the left, Oak and Licks on the right. And like I was saying, Oak is the guy who mains this character, so a bit of pressure on his shoulders to do well, but he has been doing very well so far. He's been dominating the competition for the most part. So he'll be looking to replicate that here and get a really convincing victory. He did lose to me, which was a little bit unfortunate for him, but he still scored 5 points. So if I were to say lose a fight by a lot, Oak would still be in the top position without question. But Jihadi has been doing pretty well as well. Actually, I think he's adapted well to the character for somebody who's used to cutting. Oh, then a punch. This is quite a brawl. A cut into a thrust there for Oak. Wow, nice exchange actually. Very quick, those cuts. This is definitely looking like a higher level Calc match with this back and forth. Good stab from Jihadi, but Oak, despite taking a hit to the head, manages to win out. And oak takes it. Another convincing victory, I would say, for oak, which is just what he's looking for. 7-1, in fact. Just give me 1 second. I'll try and edit something quickly. All right. Now it'll be Apostle versus me, in fact. And believe it or not, we're almost done the second last round after that. We're almost done the second last round. Oops, sorry about that. Cool, Apostle here. And Apostle will take the left side, I'll take the right side. Probably just have to back out. Okay, again, I'm not going to be super talkative for this part since I'm the one fighting. Awesome, I got it. There's the execution. Can take the head right off with that. Wanted to show Boomer and Victor that if they're watching. Nice. Yeah, that could be. Your name is too much for YouTube, idiot. Boomer. The algorithm don't like that very much. No, you can't grab me. not allow that. Yeah, so again, you can back away if you're really quick about it. You can break out of the grab before your head comes off. Gotta recognize you're being grabbed to counter it. Or you can sometimes strike your opponent first, because you have more reach with the blade. Yeah, I'll look into that after the stream. There's obviously something going on. But at least I can see it on my monitor if I look. I just can't look right now. Oof, that was close. Well done, Apostle. Didn't quite make it, but you got 5 points, so very good performance. Good fight. Okay, info. It's your turn to run the gauntlet, meaning you will fight twice, so don't leave. You'll be fighting against Landsknecht, and then you'll be fighting against me, actually, and then that'll be all your fights done. And both of them are already joining, that's good. Alright, as for the sides, info will be on the left, Landsknecht will be on the right. It'll be the last round after this fight, too. The last round of fights in this round robin. Info on the left. I think Landsknecht needs keyboard, so I'll give him that, too. He prefers to play on keyboard and not controller. Alright, you both should be able to select now. Info on the left, Landsknecht on the right. Landsknecht opening with some thrusts, which isn't really like him, but this character does necessitate a very good mix of type of attacks, so definitely a good idea. Especially a lot of calc players who are very new to him, they like to keep the point forward and largely just keep the sword in front of them and not overextend too much. The wide swings have their place, but you don't want to overuse them, especially if you're new. But the best calc players, of course, can mix that up and throw in a bunch of attacks of different types at the right time. Thrust attempt. Good snap cut, though, into a stab. Nice mix-up there. Drove 30 minutes in an IRL fetch quest. The watch repair shop that has my watch is closed permanently. I guess this is the end of the quest line. Yeah, it's rough. This one a little bit slower pace. Both fighters not trying to give away too many flags here and win more decisively. It's the best shot at getting a higher position in the standings. Good stab to the head there from Info. A bit on the back foot, but she played really well in that position. Going low. Bunch of attacks out of measure. Incortada. From Landsknecht, that sidestep stab was done really nicely there. Nice back and forth. Good snap cut, and then Info is tired, and a good parry riposte there of the tired swing. Yeah, Calc really struggles if you manage to get a good wound on him, even if it's not a kill shot. It does lower his stamina pool. Much like Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's a similar thing in this game, actually. And that's to simulate the fact that, you've lost some blood, you're in pain, these sorts of things. And Calc especially does not appreciate that very much. Nice stab from Landsknecht, who needs one more to secure this round. Oh, and there's the snap cut. Info just a little bit out of range with that cut and got punished instantly. So 7-3 for Landsknecht. Info don't go away because you've got one more fight and then you're all done. And that's a fight against me, so this time I'll take the left side and you'll take the right side. Let me just check my monitor quickly. Okay. Just checking for any more comments from Boomer. Yeah, I've got it working on my monitor here. It's just my phone I've got to sort out. Okay, this will be an important one because I've got to win this one to secure my victory of this tournament. If I lose, Oak has winning chances, especially if he wins his upcoming fight. Unless he gets a bye this time, in which case he doesn't even need to fight. He's just hoping for me to lose. So let's see what happens. And good fight info is Kalkstein Tebow. So for those who are unaware, he's asking about fencing master from way back in history. No, he uses the Meyer system. That's a German system of fencing. Meyer's rapier specifically. I put rapier in quotes though because really it's a system that's designed for any straight sword, and the specific rapier that Meyer refers to is for both cutting and thrusting. So really just think of it as a regular sword, really. But he calls it rapier because languages are weird and terminologies are weird. But yeah, it's actually Meyer. And it's the same system that Tarnowski uses, who uses the Dusak. That's a short chopping blade. Anyway, good fight info. That was incredibly close right there. It could have gone anybody's way. I'm just glad I've practiced this character a little bit before. That's really the main reason I've managed to do so well. You studied Tebow in real life. Thought he was Tebow. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I'm sure there's probably some similarities. Yeah, Oak was hoping I lose to someone by less than 7-5. Yeah, because he actually doesn't get to fight, unfortunately, because Pekala has forfeited, so um, we're not doing that fight because Pekala's not here. So it looks like I've won it. But it must be close because Oak basically only lost his fight against me, and it wasn't by that much, so I think Oak just got a little bit unlucky because his scores have been just incredible. A lot of 7-1, 7-2. But we're both very experienced players, so anything can happen when we fight, especially for one round. When you get more opportunities to adjust with like a double elimination format with more rounds, it tends to go a bit better for the one who has more experience. Anyway, Jihadi will take the left side, Apostle will take the right side. Let's end this one with a bang. This is the final round. Then I'll show you the standings and where everybody's placed. Credit where credit's due to info too. Like she did everything in her power to make sure I didn't win that. So I'm sure Oak appreciates that because he was looking for me to lose by at least like 4-7. 5-7, potentially he still could have won, but I think that's the tie condition, so it would come down to who has the better points difference. We have some tie breaks in place in case you happen to get the same score as someone else, like points difference, wins versus tied participants. So if you've beaten the people you're tied with, you'd win, assuming the points difference doesn't resolve it, which is not common. And so that's where the benefit can come into winning by the best margin that you can. And Oak has done that fantastically well this whole event, so shout out to him. He definitely does deserve to get the title, but he won't get it today. And keep in mind, this is a title that we just released on the server, the Condottieri. There's some others like Ritter, which is German for knight, and a Hussar for the sabers. Huskarl for the axes, and then we got some other titles in the works for the rapier and the sword and shield categories. So not many people have these titles yet. They're very, very, very new. And once we've run through all the weapons, next week, hopefully, the week after, we'll be back to mixed events. But like I said, Venator tomorrow. with his Friday night events. Friday night for Romania, anyway. It's gonna be daytime for anyone in North America. He'll be doing a mixed weapon tournament, so that'll be pretty exciting. And I'll be commentating over there. The exact name of his channel is in the chat if you want to scroll up, for anyone who didn't see that. Anyway, this is a pretty intense exchange, actually. They're both getting tired, but Jihadi slips a stab in there last moment. And this is something that we didn't actually see a lot of, actually, both fighters getting tired. Because a lot of people are inexperienced with Calc, sure, but everybody here knows how to manage stamina, so we haven't seen a whole lot of that. Even with Calc's limited stamina pool, people have been using him pretty efficiently. But Jihadi, with a dominant performance, right as I say his name, he just wins the whole thing this round. Apostle dashing right into that nasty cut to the head. And I'll submit the scores for that, then I'll close out of the game so I can show you the standings. I'm probably going to end this stream pretty soon, but Boomer, Victor, if you guys want to chat some more, if you want to see some more of the game, I'm more than happy to do that. There's not a whole lot of interest for a second tournament, so I don't think I'll do that, despite the fact that we do have time. But I'm happy to hang out here if you guys want to do some matches, or if you just want to chat, see what the game's about. We can totally do that. And if not, I'll just end the stream there. But it's up to you guys. I could also get some people from the Discord in and we could do some duels. If you want to see some more of the characters in action. Because you only saw one out of, I think, what is it, 13, 14 characters? So anywho, I obviously got first place. Oak got second place. He did very well. Like I said, his scores have just been remarkable. 7-2, 7-2, 7-3. Against me, he ended up losing, but 7-1. And it goes on. Oak didn't fight this time because he got a bye, so he had to just hope that I lost my fight against Info there. Got a little unlucky, but he did really, really well. Got to jump off at this point, but definitely going to learn more about it. Sounds good. Yeah, and like I said, hit me a message, or send me a message if you want to do some fights, if you want to just see what the game's about, see some top level players go at it, because it's a lot of fun to watch when that happens, especially with, I personally think, the sabers and the longswords, that those are the weapons that I tend to prefer, but broadsword is fun too from time to time. Nice tactical game, a bit slower, but very tactical. Sounds good. Going live with KCD2 around 1:30 p.m. So if you want to stick around, you totally can then, but it's up to you. It looks like Boomer's getting off. It's probably getting fairly late over there, so it's totally understandable. Probably got things to do as well. If not. But for those who participated, thank you for showing up. It looks like I won the Condottieri title, but with how Oak's been performing, there's no doubt he'll get it very soon, and I'm sure Pekla will as well. He's been doing a fantastic job with a variety of weapons, so he definitely has what it takes. But he wasn't able to show up today, so. Title for Cutlass. That would be the Saber tournaments. We consider the Dussac a type of Saber on the server, so. If anyone wants to duel with me and Victor wants to give it a look, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll end the stream. Oh, actually, you're doing it right away. Yeah, so that's all good. I don't think anyone else wants to duel right this second. So, yeah, I think we'll end it here. Check out Vibing with Victor over at his stream. Really cool dude. He's doing some Kingdom Come Deliverance. 3 to 5 minute summary of the game. Sure, sure. I don't mind that. So, like I was saying earlier, Hellish Court is a realistic sword fighting game that takes place in 17th century Poland. And it draws from HEMA sources, that's historical European martial arts. So, a lot of the old fencing masters from Europe, just like Japan, have left us some fencing manuals that have been rediscovered the last couple decades or so. And so many of those styles are shown in this game. Whether it's like German longsword, which if you know about the Master Strikes in Kingdom Come Deliverance or a lot of the moves in there, those are actually directly from German traditions of longsword fencing and other weapons. So kind of a cool little tidbit there. And there's a little bit of that in this game too. Although the the longsword fencer that most players tend to prefer, Isabella, does Italian longsword by contrast. But it's also a medieval system. There is Italian and there is German. There are some others as well, but the Italian and the German systems are the ones that survive. And that's Isabella right here. She uses a longsword. Then you've got Jendrik here. He's got the Fokos. That's a type of Hungarian slash Polish axe. And you've got some saber characters. And you've got Alexander as well. He's a North African guy. And he has a special type of North African sword called the Nimcha, another type of saber. Kind of got a horse head type pommel thing going on. Two female rapierists here. Father Zera, who is a drunk monk with a longsword. He does the German tradition, unlike Isabella, but he's also very drunk, so it's a fun twist on that style. But Kubel does plan a sober German longsworder at some point. Then you've got this guy who's probably going to use saber and dagger, but he's not yet playable. The Dusak, another saber. Sword and shield, this guy's a Scotsman. Marina comes from like Lithuania, that sort of area. And then helmet guy, as we call him, we don't know what his name is. He'll be coming later. So that's kind of a rundown of the characters. What else? There's story. Right now, only Yazid's story is out, but more will be coming out soon. There's arcade mode where you get to fight a bunch of characters back to back, and then you fight a boss. And that's Samuel, actually, one of the characters wearing armor while you're not wearing armor, so that's fun. Survival, where the goal is to survive as long as you can for 30 fights and get the best score that you can. Love the drunk monks, yeah, absolutely. A bit of that in Kingdom Come as well. And so, yeah, the goal here is just to get the highest score you can, often by killing your opponents as fast as possible. I'm second place with Alexander currently, so that's pretty good. History buff as well is pretty fun. That's just you get a bunch of historical tidbits for each fight you win. And versus player versus CPU, CPU versus CPU. That's kind of a rundown of what you can do in the game. There's training mode as well if you want to practice a little bit. And yeah, more features will be coming out soon. I feel like I might have gone over 5 minutes. I don't know. Feels like I did. But that's a quick rundown of the game. And like I said, more characters to come. There's actually an Ottoman Janissary that'll be coming out pretty soon. So that's what a lot of people are excited to see. If you don't have any other questions, I think I'll end the stream there. But hope that was helpful. Pretty neat cast of characters, if I do say so myself. Clip that summary and post it? Yeah, I'll definitely think about doing that. That should be pretty straightforward. And speaking of, there's actually a tutorial I want to do on getting Henry quality Bane poison. I have a quick video already filmed for that. Just got to do a voiceover, so I'll try and put that out too. That'll be pretty cool. Because there's not many good guides on YouTube for making high quality poison, surprisingly. I thought there'd be a straightforward tutorial, but not really for the Bane poison specifically, so that might be interesting too. But thank you, I really appreciate that. And thanks for coming out, Victor. Glad to see you on stream. Feel free to come hang out every Thursday. And like I said, Friday I'll be doing a stream with Venator over on his channel, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Thank you for coming out.